Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
The struggle as to strike.
The Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
Very good morning it is. Thank you everyone for joining us this great Friday. As always, it's a delight. I'm Uyi Agmofwegbe. It's global morning, the last for the working week as we know it. So we are gradually counting down just a few hours before the weekend. The enjoyment part of it kicks in full throttle. My colleague, of course, is on the show and she enjoys introducing herself.
All right, good morning, and of course I am Jumai Manson. It's great to be here, and it's a beautiful Friday. TGIF, people will say. Well done.
All right, so it's a Friday, no doubt about that, but whatever your plans are, just be sure that you do enjoyment in a way that is safe and then doesn't put you in harm's way anyhow. And then, of course, realizing that it's also an amazing opportunity for you to take a second look at how you spent the week, what your priorities have been like, and you check those against what goals you set out by the time you hit the streets last Monday. But in all, let's stay grateful and learn to count our blessings and all those things we wish that we had.
Exactly. I know most times because of what is happening in the country due to the economic situation, people will tell you they don't have time to pray. I have to go out and hustle. It's very important. People forget to even give thanks, and just to thank God that you're alive is something.
Right.
To thank God that at least you might not have 3 square meals, but you had something to eat. It's enough for you to be thankful, and it's enough for you to be grateful. Many people are 6 feet under. They didn't have this opportunity which you had. So let's just be thankful. Let's just be grateful, and let's be hopeful and positive. It doesn't matter what the economy is saying at the moment. It doesn't matter how much the fuel price is at the moment, like the high cost of electricity tariff at the moment, unemployment, and all of that we see at the moment. Let's just be positive and know that that change is here, and everything is going to be fine. I always say it's very important that we understand this in order to be positive and know that a better and brighter day is coming ahead.
Right. I mean, you see the brightness in the day, but again, that depends on your perspective. So we have to learn to change our perspective every time it matters. And then very importantly, too, understand that life has to be forward-facing, not the other way around. There's nothing you can do about yesterday. It's like what my mom would say when an egg gets smashed. There's nothing you can do to recover it. So some other people call it spilled milk. You don't cry over that. But let's just focus on what it is today. We have big conversations lined up for you this morning. We'll be talking about a lot of things. We'll look at the money. We'll look at issues around the budget. Nigeria has always had issues, challenges, and controversies around budgets. This year, from the little we know so far, doesn't seem to be any different. Everybody has been responding or reacting to the 48.8 trillion naira being proposed by the executive. We understand sometime next week, President Bola Tinubu will hit the floor of the National Assembly, where he will do a formal presentation of the budget proposal to a joint session of the legislature. We look forward to seeing that happen. But experts have also taken our time now to look at this budget proposal against what we have seen the last few years. And a man like Chief Olisa Agbakoba said in saying that by 2030, Nigerian budget would have hit 500 trillion. The metrics and the indices used to reach that kind of conclusion is what some persons are still questioning. But Juma and I are not in a hurry to jump into all of that just so soon. But just to let you know that we're also trying to Edo States. And see what is happening. Mr. Okpebholo, the new governor, that is Senator Monday Okpebholo, has been in the saddle now for the 18th day. I mean, time flies. Right. So what exactly has happened so far? We've seen a lot of reactions coming through with regards to some of the decisions he has taken. Some of them, people on the ground in the state say are radical. Other people say, well, not as radical as you would think, because the man is trying to respond to the reality he met on the ground, having picked the governance of the states from where Mr. Godwin Obaseki, the former governor, left off,
exactly,
and things like that. And now there's a committee for recovery of government property,
exactly,
particularly vehicles. We understand so far 30 vehicles have been recovered.
Yes.
Some report says there are 200 vehicles that need to be recovered. Now the committee's work ends in about 2 weeks.
Yes, it does.
All right, we will see how that former aides to former Governor Obaseki are now saying that, look, this is a witch hunt. Obaseki did all he could to position the state for prosperity and progress and things like that. Then the people from the side of the incumbent governor are saying that, look, the online portal of the state is being run. The back end of it is being run by some non-state actors,
Exactly.
all right, courtesy of Mr. Obaseki. And as such, the governor has directed an indefinite shutdown of that platform, pending when a review has been done and so on and so forth. But whatever the case may be, Jumai, on the final note, I would expect that the important thing is that the governor takes out time to look at, I mean, you can't throw the baby on the bathwater away.
No, you cannot.
You can't say a governor who has left office has not done anything right. So the question is, yes, why you say you're bent on, you're keen on ensuring that you correct the mistakes he made. Are we also going to appreciate the things he did right, whatever those things are, and build on them?
Yeah, it's very important. Like, I like the fact you mentioned you do not throw the baby and the bathwater away. Of course, if you look at the tenure of Governor Godwin Obaseki, he did some things. A lot of individuals are happy in the state. He might have been a bit slow to some actionable issues, but at least he made an impact. So for that, as in that there should be kudos when it comes to issues like that.
Right.
So I think he should be very, you know, just be flexible and not rigid, because the way he's going on about it is just, it's head on to head on, as in, I want this, I want it delivered, and all of that. Want to say, and people have a right to say that it's wind shot. If they, you know, everyone has is entitled to their opinion and
right.
all of that. But at the same time, I think he should tread softly. He should try as much as possible to understand that this is his predecessor we're talking about, and definitely it's going to be predecessored by someone else in the next 4 years and all of that. So we should tread softly and all of that. But at the same time, as much as you want to do the right thing, just tread softly. It's very important, because recovering of like the vehicles and of course properties in possession of individuals, this is something new, I'm sure, for other individuals. Talking about the state level now, you know, it's something that people will wonder, this has never been done, or even if it has been done, it hasn't been publicized as much as it has been. These individuals feel this particular these particular properties are in their possession, is theirs. As long as the Governor Obaseki has gone, they are going along with it. Something new will happen, but this is something new. But let's just see how well this plays out, how it's beneficial to the people of Edo State, and of course his administration as we speak. Very important. We should have that at the back of our minds.
You see, it's quite interesting how that we just don't seem to get it right every cycle. All right, because I recall, I mean, I recall when former Governor Shomole took over office in 2008, going into 2009. One of the first things he did was to set up a similar committee to say, look, we're recovering government property. All right, set up that committee, but I don't know for a fact, I mean, the facts are out there. That report never saw the light of day, all right? It never saw the light of day. So the question is, in whose interest did you set up a committee in the first instance? And Juma, we also need to know that committees don't sit for free. No. So if you set up a committee, you throw Uye and Juma into that committee, it means there's a stipend they must get, whether on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. But they do get paid for the job they do. Very true. All right? It's not a volunteering thing. It costs the state's money to put up a committee, you know, and stuff like that. So how are we getting return on investment for taxpayers' money in all of these instances where you set up all of these committees? Add to that the fact that there's a lot of political coloration to this committee. The people you have there, the bulk of them, established, influential, long-standing members of the ACN into APC. Very true. Right. So when you look at that, for example, it's pretty much a case of you trying to be a George in your own cause. Yes.
Well, like I said, let's just see how well this plays out. But of course, these are the things that individuals actually look at and wonder, what is going on? Is this beneficial? And very importantly, we should know, is it beneficial to people of Edo State at the moment? We're talking about tax reforms. We've not gotten out of that yet. There are a lot of issues surrounding that which we're yet to uncover and all of that. But at the same time, let's just sit back and watch and see how well this plays out and see how beneficial this particular issue will be at the moment. Very important that we should have that at the back of our mind. Like I said, if it's for the benefit of the state, benefit of the people of Edo State, benefit for the present administration in order to move the state forward, well,
why not?
Why not? But if it's something that has to do with, let's look at it. Let's see what is tucked underneath. Like you said, whatever committee is being held is not for free. There is stipends that will be paid. There are a lot of things that will go into it, a lot of funds that will go into that particular committee. But let's see how well this will play out. It's 2 weeks, right?
Right.
And so far, we already have only 30 properties, or will I say vehicles recovered. Let's see. And we have over, like we mentioned, 200, right? Let's just see how well this plays out at the moment.
Right. You see, the thing is, in the end, they say when two elephants fight, sometimes the fight is amongst more than two elephants. But no matter, regardless of the number of elephants, it's the grass that still suffers. Yes, that's what it means. But after the 4 years, at least the first 4 years of Governor Monday Okpebholo, Edo people must be able to look back the last 4 years and see what has changed for the better in their lives. I think that's the ultimate yardstick. Everything else is politics, right? Everything else would have to rise and fall on leadership. So if I can look at my life after 4 years of a particular administration and say my life was here when you came in, now it has been elevated, then that means there's a problem. So whatever we do, those decisions must revolve around the overall interest of the Edo man and the Edo woman.
And talking about elevation, talking about even dropping the bar, let's see how it will be. I think 4 years is even too long of a time for you to compare and contrast but a particular...
So you think 1 year in office is okay? Or should we do 100 days?
100 days. Let's start with 100 days and do that comparison, and we'll see whether the bar has been raised or not. So it's not all about all bark and no teeth. It's all about all works and action. So 100 days, I think 100 days is enough for us to see where we are headed to, or where the people of Edo State are heading to. It's very important that we know 4 years is a long time. Will you be shocked? But 100 days, you'll be able to weigh the benchmark and see what Obaseki did during his tenure and what Governor Monday Okpebholo is doing or what he's trying to achieve. That will give you a hint into what 4 years will actually look like. You don't need a soothsayer to tell you if the administration is going to go for the people or is going to be beneficial to the people of Edo. So you don't need a soothsayer after 100 days. 100 days, now we should know what is even happening. Let's see. Because when you come out and you make all these promises, like you said, politics, it's all about politics. If it doesn't benefit the individuals of Edo State, if it doesn't benefit you and I, if it doesn't benefit what is to move the state forward, it's all politics. So from now we will know, from now we will see. And for now, a lot of people are seeing a little bit of red flags, but let's just see how well this plays out. Like I said, it's not all about one individual. It's all about the people in which you represent. You are the mouthpiece in order to drive and move that particular state forward, making a difference, touching lives, to know that, hey, we put you in this position to give succor to whatever we are going through. So it's very important people know that. Once you know that and you get it right, I think individuals who are in power will understand what it means, the implication of being in power and performing and actually giving back to society. It's a seed but many individuals do not know. So just unfortunate. But let's just see how well this plays. It's too early to judge. 100 days, not far.
They say a great weekend begins on a Friday. This administration is already on the road, quite frankly inching towards its third week in office. But more importantly, like Jemai mentioned, 100 days in office, that should be at least one basis of which the life cycle of administration should be judged or its performance assessed. Incidentally, that will be in February of next year, and God willing, Global Television will be here to also follow that development for you as it unfolds. Let's take a quick break, everyone. Remember that we always have big headlines from across our national dailies for you. All of those will come up shortly. All right, let's turn to the papers for you real quick. We'll begin with the Daily Trust newspaper. Let's see what we have here. First off, it says just immediately beneath the name place, top left corner, abductors of toddler siblings demand 300 million naira ransom. I saw this story yesterday. I didn't have the nerve to read the details of it, but it's as sad as you can already imagine. Abductors of toddler siblings demand 300 million naira. So you can only imagine off the top of your head the amount of trauma this family would have been dealing with right now. A toddler and their siblings have been abducted, and 300 million naira ransom is being demanded by these elements. All right. Tinubu pitches investments in food security, solid minerals, others. Of course, we know that the president has been in France now. But for the third day running, he has met, he and his wife, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, have met with President Emmanuel Macron of France, as well as his wife, and they've been having these chit-chat and interactions about trade, about cooperation, whether it's in defense or in food security or what have you. Just yesterday, for example, the president of Nigeria, Bola Tinubu, and his French counterpart, Emmanuel Macron, also had talks where they delivered their individual speeches. So let's see what comes out of these in the days, weeks, and months ahead. Nigeria slumps in latest FIFA ranking. If you join us at 7 o'clock this morning, West African time, all of those details will be right in front of you on Talk Sports. Then we have our star story on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper here. It says reps in rowdy session over tax reform bills. Reps in rowdy session over tax reform bills. And one rider with that headline: proposal scales second reading in Senate. Influential leaders move to resolve ACF crisis. That's one of the things leadership is about. Okay, you must have to find resolution at some point. All right, then let's see what we have at the foot of the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper. Police killed 24 during end bad governance protest. Amnesty International. Police killed 24 during end bad governance protest. That was according to Amnesty International. Marketers leaked 251 million liters of petrol from Dangote refinery in 10 weeks. That's in less than 3 months. Marketers leaked 251 million liters of petrol from Dangote refinery in 10 weeks. And lastly here, final headline from the Daily Trust newspaper says court sacks Benue APC caretaker committee. So that's legal tussle over the leadership of the All Progressives Congress in Benue State is on. Now we hear that court has sacked the Benue APC caretaker committee. But there's this headline about abductors of toddler siblings demanding 300 million ransom. This is as gruesome as they come, because first of all, I mean, we all know what a toddler is. So the question is, when you have a toddler with their siblings in abduction, I mean in captivity, by people they've never met, most likely people they don't know from anywhere, people who are not their relatives or friends or neighbors or what have you. I mean, I just can't imagine how it feels, and for their parents in particular, it's weird and crazy all at the same time.
It's very dramatic. Traumatic, I mean, very traumatic. We don't want to even imagine such a toddler and the siblings. These are brothers and sisters from the same family. It's just unfortunate. And people say when things like this happen, there's someone in the family that is up on this particular issue. That's why parents, guardians, caretaker have to imbibe that rule of be careful of who you talk to, where you go to, don't stay out too late, where you see something, say something, be careful, and all of that. It's just unfortunate that this is how the fastest way individuals make money. This is the fastest way people feel that they can remove themselves from any economic hardship by kidnapping and adoption. It's just unfortunate that this crime has come, and this menace, we hope it will be curbed as soon as possible in our society, because it was never like this before. Back in the day, we never knew what it was, but you started hearing issues, abroad, kidnapped for ransom, and then this whole issue played out now. Now it's where people get their fortunes from. It's just unfortunate, but I hope the needful is done as quick as possible. A toddler, someone really, really, oh goodness. It's just unfortunate.
Sad development it seems, but that's all we have for you this morning from the Daily Trust newspaper. Let's turn to the next one quickly now.
All right, we have the Punch newspaper giving us some very punchy headlines. And beside that, Punch says Port Harcourt refinery controversy surrounds NNPCL claim on operation. And you can find that on page 29. And, when I read this story yesterday, we said that the refinery, the petrol that was there, it has been petrol that has been there like 3 years ago that was in that refinery. So we do not know how well that is, but for what we see, it's a source that is very credible and reliable. But let's just see how well this plays out. But at least the refinery is up and it has started, and at least that's a step in the right direction for the economy and of course for Nigeria. And let's just see how well it goes, and let's just see the succor in which it will bring. And of course, the Star story here says minimum wage and Labour states hold last-minute talks ahead Monday strike. And you can find that on page 2. And the rider there says NLC mobilizes for total shutdown. States hopeful of beating December 1st deadline. Like I've mentioned, I keep saying that we keep going back and forth when it comes to the minimum wage. And as we keep going back and forth, and forgetting that individuals in the society are the ones that make things happen. If there's a total shutdown, we know what that means. It's going to affect the littlest. You might think someone is not important, but let this just come to play. It's just unfortunate that this is where we are. We keep going back and forth. Like, seriously, what is wrong in just imbibing this particular 70,000 naira and let us move forward? But some states have, But unfortunately,
some have even done an upward review above the 70,000 naira benchmark.
Exactly. So I do not understand why we keep going back and forth on this matter. We keep going back and forth. NLC, we keep going back and forth. It's not. I don't think it's going to come to an end really, really soon. It's just from one thing to another. We keep going back and forth with this issue.
Incidentally, July, the deadline is December 1, and that's on Sunday. So the question is, for those 4-5 states that are yet to comply, how much more work do they need to do?
Exactly.
I hope they don't create more problems. One tries to solve one, all in a bid to hurry to beat the deadline.
It's just unfortunate that this is where we are, but hopefully the needful is done. These 4-5 states that are lingering and wasting so much time when it comes to this, really. People are going through a lot. And 70,000 naira is not even enough to do anything. At the same time, but at least it's something. But let the needful be done as soon as possible. And below the Punch newspaper, the side, it says tax northern senators regroup bill scales second reading. And you can find that read on page 2. Now below that it says NAFDAC mops up fake malaria drugs. I believe this is very important on page 2. I don't want to mention the brand. I think I mentioned to you that I'm treating malaria today. So like the one I got 2 weeks ago, nothing happened. I still felt the same. I still felt the same feverish conditions, blah 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 blah. But when I took the branded malaria medicine, I felt better. There are lots of fake drugs around. I think this should be curbed. It is becoming a menace in society, and people are finding very easy and cheap ways to get rich quick, not minding the detriment in which it will cause. And of course, on page 12, it says Tinubu seeks France collaboration on food security and education. And you can find that read also on page 7. And France collaboration on food security, education. Food security and education. Well, let's see how the collaboration will hold up, and hopefully something that's a basic amenity for each and every one of us in the country when it comes to food, when it comes to security, when it comes to education. All of these things are that are very beneficial to each and every one of us. But let's see how well this particular collaboration will take place. Let us see if it's going to be a long-lasting one. Let us see how all hands will be on deck to actually curb it up, because food, a lot of, like I mentioned, inflation, the high rates of food now that it's December, the festivity, you do not want to know how much a bag of rice is going to cost right now. You do not want to know how much you buy oil, how much you buy maize. Nobody's even talking about rice. People are talking about, let's talk about gari now, for instance. The food that's been saving someone since 1979.
That's right.
People say. But it's very important that we understand that this is a serious issue. Food security, education. I'm surprised we're not mentioning healthcare. These are basic amenities for you and I that we need to survive.
Not negotiable.
It's not negotiable at all. Food, security, education, healthcare. One of them, let's say those that we have to put in the top priority now. Nobody's even talking about electricity. Food is number one because they say a hungry man is what a hungry man.
That's right.
So let's just be hopeful and see how well this collaboration will, if it's going to work. I pray it does. And below all of that, on the Punch newspaper, it says money laundering, US-based Nigerian may get 20-year jail term. And you can find that read on page 5. Money laundering. I'm sure this has to do with, when money laundering.
Right. US-based Nigerian may get 20-year jail term. I know the US justice system has a hardline stance.
Yes, it does.
Against money laundering and things around this internet fraud or what have you.
Cybercrime, Yahoo, let's just douse it down. Yahoo, and all of these things. It's just unfortunate that Nigerians, we find ourselves nipped in this sort of issue. You see, like places like Malaysia, they don't take it lightly when it comes to drugs. Execution straight up. You know how it is.
Which again, there are people across the world now calling for an end or abolition of capital punishment. Others are saying, the crimes are becoming a bit more sleek, so to say. It's becoming more tricky to deal with crimes. And as such, you have to go the whole hog to deal with it. So the question is, are we going to go the Indonesian way, the Chinese way, or the way of many of the countries in the Arab Gulf and all of that? So best we have to look at our peculiarities and see how we can find a homegrown solution to our own problems.
We need to. And still on the Punch newspaper, it says suspected herdsman kill Ogun chief on farmland. And
sad story.
Very sad story. You can find that read on page 4. And then here on page 18 on the Punch newspaper, it says job creation not part of my mandate, Labour Minister. I'm trying to understand. Why is that smirk on your face?
Well, I don't know. Maybe we need to look at what the mandate of the ministry is, because in fairness to the minister, I've not read the story per se, but let's cut the minister some slack. All right. Maybe we need to check what the mandate of the ministry is.
Okay.
Because you don't necessarily expect him to overstep the boundaries of the ministry's mandate. But the question is, what exactly is the mandate of the ministry? In any case, sir, let's even forget about you creating jobs. Are you even performing enough within the ambit of the mandate of your ministry? It's like a minister of education saying that my job is not to make Nigerian universities rank number 1 in the world. Well, we can argue that. But in any case, what has changed the last 6 months or 1 year or 2 years that you've been there? Right, so let's not look for excuses to distract from the main issues, right? We do know that the Ministry of Labour and Employment, which used to be Ministry of Labour and Productivity, all right, has a whole lot of work to do in terms of you may not create the jobs. Let's be careful with the words, because semantics can be deceptive and confusing. You may not be the one to create the jobs, but you should coordinate the process of job creation. You should be able to, as it were, take charge of labor-specific issues beyond you coming to remediate on behalf of the federal government when the organized labor goes on strike or when ASU starts its own drama and things like that. This conversation is not for this Friday morning.
And of course, that's all on the Daily Punch. Please go out and get yourself a copy so you can be more enlightened when it comes to issues making round. And the next is the Daily Times.
Daily Times is what I have for you next. Thank you, Jubai. Let's take a big look first of all at the big story. That's the star story of the Daily Times this morning. It says Senate summons Works Minister Julius Berger, CCECC over Odumari Calabar Highway is a big story on the front page of today's issue of the Daily Times newspaper. But let's move it a notch higher to look at headlines above the main plate. Top left corner first. It says tax reform bills receive boosts as Senate receives presidential committee. Southeast road users decry extortion, frustration at checkpoints. Reps committee grows army chief Oluyede behind closed doors. We understand the man has now been confirmed. FCT, Senate was Development Commission for Satellite Towns. Court reminds Yaya Bello in FCC custody until December 10th. Yeah, well, that is behind us now. We're waiting to see what happens in court on that day. But let's quickly leave that behind and turn to the Nation newspaper quickly. Let's see what we have on the front page of the Nation newspaper. But before we go to the Nation newspaper, let's take a quick break now. When we return, a lot more waiting for you on the program.
You're welcome back from that very quick break, and of course newspaper review continues, and we will be starting with the Daily Independent, and the star story on the Daily Independent is tax reform bill propose new sharing formula cede 55% to states, and we have three riders there. It says mule zero VAT on exports, essential consumption, and reduce company income tax from 30% to 25%. Past second reading at Senate, reps hold special session Tuesday. And still on the Daily Independent, the left corner, it says federal government to begin collection of $300 helicopter landing fee soon. And you can find that on page 7. Political action must go beyond protest, says Osibajo. And you can find that read on page 7 of the Daily Independent. Zenith Bank expands global footprint, opens Paris branch on page 6. You'll find that read. And polytechnics embark on strike December 2nd. We keep wondering, our tertiary institutions on strike again, hopefully. Let's see how well that plays out. On page 6, you'll find that read. Ajero criticized state implementation of national minimum wage, and you can find that read on page 29. 24 people killed during End Bad Governance protest, Amnesty International. And you can find that read on page 7. We are edging closer to stability in food security, says Tinubu. The writer there says unveils initiative to reduce out of school population. And you can find that read on page 29. And at the foot of the Daily Independent, it says federal government asks TED Fund to cancel foreign scholarship for academic staff. And that's basically it on the Daily Independent. Please go out and be well informed when it comes to the news making round. But let us look a little bit on the federal government asked TED Fund to cancel foreign scholarships for academic staff. So what do you think that's all about? Is it to save costs, or let's look inward now? Let's see how we can improve ourselves inwardly and be well trained inwardly. We have the capacity when it comes to academic staff. What do you think it's all about? Why?
Well, I think that's probably one of the measures, one of the goals. The measure is aimed at, all right, cut costs and then look at local options, I mean, within the walls of these institutions themselves. However, that's not to say that where an academic staff, all right, has an opportunity for an exchange program abroad, whether it's research, postdoctoral, or whatever it is, they cannot join Batik, for example, all right? It's also an opportunity of saying, for those who probably are even tired of working in Nigeria and you'll be itchy to leave, you have that window to go if you feel this doesn't sit well with you. But I think one of the things the authorities are trying to do within the education system is to say, let's reposition, let's be a bit more strategic about these things, all right?
Because look inwardly now.
Yes, the academic aspect of the tertiary education system is more like the engine room. It's like what the SMEs are to the economy, for example, all right? So if you get it right on that level, get it wrong on that level, that makes everything top to bottom, we get bungled.
Well said. All right, the next paper is
the This Day newspaper. Right, let's take a look at one headline just above the nameplate quickly for you. It says CBN AGF raise alarm over rising judgment debts involving MDAs. That in itself is a big story for some other time. All right, when you look at the right corner of the paper, it says landmark tax reform, Senate passes bills for second reading. All right, Tinubu to Macron, we are repositioning Nigeria's economy for more impactful FDIs. 3 riders with that headline. The first one here says, a nation open to more investments in defense, education, solid minerals, others. In shout out to Arise News, Tinubu says we are being well treated. And then lastly, pledges to return out of school children to our classrooms. That's other parts very important. You can't say you want to grow your country and then you have this number of out of school children running in millions, even though we still have an issue with data in that regard. President Bola Tinubu is still in France, by the way. Let's see what happens. With these visits, the action points that will be unveiled and made visible to Nigeria by way of outcomes. Incidentally, those are the papers that we have for you this morning.
Of course, up next on Global Morning is the AM News. Stick around, do not go anywhere. And please go out and get yourself a copy of the newspaper to be enlightened with the news making round. Stay tuned, do not go anywhere.
Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to AM News on Global Television. Coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja, I am Jumai Manson. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and free to air on Nicomsat. Now the news in full. President Bola Tinubu has begun a 2-day official visit to France, with both countries seeking increased economic cooperation and Paris looking to boost ties in English-speaking Africa. Following a series of setbacks with former allies on the continent, French President Emmanuel Macron says the trip is an opportunity to deepen the already dynamic relationship between France and Nigeria, noting that Nigeria is the continent's leading oil producer and has a robust film industry. The Senate has passed for second reading the 4 controversial tax reform bills transmitted to it by President Bola Tinubu. This followed a lead debate on the bills presented by Senate leader Senator Opeyemi Bamidele, representing Ekiti Central, and debated by senators during plenary. Some top officials in Tinubu's government had appeared before the Senate, where they made detailed presentations on the bills. Northern governors, traditional rulers, and Northern Elders Forum had earlier rejected the bills, saying the proposed legislative items are not in the interests of the nation. Over now to Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma has reiterated his administration's commitment to strengthening media practices and fostering democracy. The governor stated this at the 8th Triennial National Delegates Conference of the National Union of Journalists, NUJ, holding in Owerri, Imo State capital. Imo State correspondent Amarachi Ibe tells us more. We apologize, that report will be brought in our subsequent bulletin. The 23-year dormant Port Harcourt refinery is now operational with 60% daily production of fuel and other petroleum products. The managing director, Port Harcourt Refinery Company Limited, Engineer Ibrahim Onoja, announced this while conducting members of the Senate Ad Hoc Committee on Turnaround Maintenance of Nigeria's Refineries, led by its chairman, Senator Kawu Samaila, around the Port Harcourt refinery in Eleme, River State. Engineer Onoja, however, says the production of fuel, which is a blend of other elements, will be a gradual process to achieve the expected capacity per day. The chairman, Senate Committee on Turnaround Maintenance of Nigerian Refineries, who is also the chairman, Senate Committee on Petroleum Resources Downstream, Senator Kawu Samaila, expressed satisfaction with the level of rehabilitation work of the entire refinery and hope that the refining of all the petroleum products will be sustained. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has applauded the Nigerian Navy for the collaborative and support efforts of international partners, advancing maritime security initiatives and promoting sustainable development of the Gulf of Guinea. President Tinubu, who was represented by the National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu, gave the commendation while delivering a keynote address at the opening ceremony of the 8th edition symposium of the heads of navies and coast guards of Gulf of Guinea in Abuja. Kike Lomo Okere has details.
The Gulf of Guinea is a crucial shipping route for global trade and accounts for about 60% of Africa's shipping trade volume. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who was represented by the National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu, charged 8 of navies and coastal guards of Gulf of Guinea to foster international cooperation to tackle maritime challenges and promote sustainable development of the maritime resources. He noted that through shared responsibilities and concerted efforts, the 8 of navies can effectively combat illegal activities at sea, protect the maritime ecosystem, and unlock the immense economic opportunities on the waterways.
It is therefore our collective responsibility to foster international cooperation to tackle these challenges and promote sustainable development of our maritime resources.
The Chief of the Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Emmanuel Ogala, says the symposium underscores the importance of cooperation and the need to strengthen and expand existing regional and international security initiatives. He noted that the symposium is aimed to foster cooperation to the development of Africa's oceans, particularly the Gulf of Guinea nation's economy within the secure maritime environment.
There are still some myriads of challenges such as sea robbery, proliferation of small arms and light weapons, illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing, human trafficking, just to mention a few. Most of these crimes are transnational in nature and requires collective approach involving all navies and coast guards.
France Naval Chief Admiral Nicolas Vajo says the symposium is aimed to discuss strategic maritime security issues in the Gulf of Guinea to strengthen the maritime security.
Regional cooperation is progressing positively. These various actions prove the relevance of the Yaoundé architecture of this integrated model. It's a goal to pursue our joint action and continue to develop our partnership. Based on the actual success, there will be room for including able and willing partners who will contribute to the operations under Yaoundé architecture.
The 8th edition symposium of the 8 of navies and coastal guards of Gulf of Guinea is tagged Maritime Security and Sustainable Development in the Gulf of Guinea, reflects the essence of the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Kike Lomo Okeri, Global Television News.
The Nigerian Center for Disease Control and Prevention and the World Health Organization have said effective risk communication is key to prevention and response to disease outbreak in the country. Experts from the organization stated this in Lagos during the commencement of a 6-day workshop for key stakeholders to develop effective risk communication strategies. The workshop, funded by the Canadian government through the Can Give project, aims to enhance the capacity of key stakeholders to effectively communicate risk-engaged communities and manage informatics during public health emergencies. The Senate has passed for second reading the 4 controversial tax reform bill transmitted by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. This followed a lead debate on the bills presented by Senate leader Senator Opeyemi Bamidele and debated by senators during plenary. Some top officials in Tinubu's government yesterday appeared before the Senate, where they made detailed presentations on the bill. Northern governors, traditional rulers, and Northern Elders Forum had earlier rejected the bill, saying the proposed bill were not in the interest of the nation. The Adamawa State Chapter of the All Progressive Congress has refuted claims that its 2023 governorship candidate, Senator Aishatu Binani, has been suspended. The state leadership labored the story allegedly spread by the Yola South Local Government Chapter as fake and mischievous. The state leadership, represented by the Publicity Secretary Mohammed Abdullahi, says the allegations were fabricated by individuals unhappy with the efforts of the party leaders, Malam Nuhu Ribadu, Mustafa Salihu, to resolve internal issues and unite the party. The statement confirmed that Yola South Local Government area had not suspended Senator Binani, rendering the story false. The National Coordinator for Neglected Tropical Disease, also called NTDs, at the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare, Fatai Oyedimo, says about $19 million is required to effectively tackle the health threats in the country. Oyederan disclosed this on the second day of the advocacy meeting with commissioners for health for the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory in Abuja. He said with adequate investment, NDTs can be controlled and eradicated. The Senate Committee on Army, led by its chairman, Senator Abdulaziz Musa Yar'Adua, has begun the screening of the Acting Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Olufemi Olatubosun Oluyede, for confirmation as the substantive Chief of Army Staff. General Oluyede was appointed Acting Chief of Army Staff on October 30, 2024, following the illness of Lieutenant General Tawhid Lagbaja, who passed away on November 5, 2024. Queen Agaba completes the report.
Senate Committee on Army, led by its chairman, Senator Abdulaziz Musa Yar'Adua, outlined the expectations for the nominee, focusing on his professional skills, strategic vision, and proposals for addressing issues such as military funding, personnel welfare, and territorial integrity.
This screening exercise intends to bring to bear your professional skills, experiences, and expertise based on your strategic security knowledge and vision towards defending Nigeria from external aggression, maintaining its territorial integrity, securing its borders from violation on land, suppressing insurrection, and acting in aid of the civil authorities to restore order, among others.
The screening exercise, conducted behind closed doors due to the sensitive nature of security matters, provided an opportunity for Oluyede to share his vision for the Nigerian Army. For Global Television, Queen Agaba reporting.
The chairman of the National Population Commission, NPC, Nasir Wari, has disclosed that Nigerians' belated census will hold in 2025. Wari made the revelation at the 2024 anniversary on the Nairobi Summit on International Conference on Population and Development in Abuja. Now recall that despite the United Nations recommending population census to be held in countries every 10 years, Nigeria last conducted its own in 2006, making the country 18 years without accurate figure of its citizens. Al-Hassan Yahya Abdullahi from Gombe State has emerged as the new president of the Nigerian Union of Journalists, NUJ, at the Eternal National Delegates Conference held in Owerri, Imo State. Yahya secured a landslide victory with 436 votes, defeating Dele Atumbi of the Federal Capital Territory Council, who received 97 votes, and Mohammed Garba of Kaduna Council, who scored only 39 votes. Yahya, who works with the Gombe Media Corporation, was the immediate national deputy president of the NUJ and succeeds Chris Izingbo as the president of the association. Also, Abimbola Oyetunde, a deputy director at the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, FRCN, also emerged unopposed as the deputy national president. All other positions were also returned unopposed. In his acceptance speech, Yahya pledged to advance the interests and welfare of NUJ members, defend press freedom, and uphold high journalistic standards. Edo State Vehicles Recovery Committee Chairman Kenli Okoboa says the committee has retrieved 30 government-owned vehicles from officials of the immediate past administration of former Governor Godwin Obaseki. The development was disclosed in a statement issued by Fred Itua, Chief Press Secretary to Governor Monday Okpebolo, stating that Okobowa commended whistleblowers for providing critical information that facilitated the recoveries, including 4 vehicles retrieved from the residence of a former high-ranking official and another from a separate individual. He assured Edo residents that more recoveries will be made before the 2-week deadline set for the committee to complete its mandate. You're watching AM News on Global Television, coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. When AM News returns, the Senate passes tax reform bill for second reading. Details of this, as well as business and foreign stories, coming right after this break. Please stay with us. You're welcome back, and if you're just tuning in, this is AM News on Global Television. Thank you for staying with us. On our business decks, the federal government has confirmed that it will spend a total sum of 8.8 billion naira for the repair and restoration of transmission towers that were vandalized across various regions of the country in 2024. The Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the company, Ahmed Abdulaziz, stated this at the quarterly Power Sector Working Group meeting in Abuja. The Special Advisor to the Minister of Power and Strategic Communications and Media Relations, Bolaji Tunji, in a statement says government is yet to achieve prosecutions of arrested vandals, as they are usually released on bail by the Nigerian police. The House of Representatives has asked its Committee on Finance, Petroleum Upstream and Downstream to investigate reports from the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Responsibility Commission alleging that the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, withheld 8.84 trillion naira as claimed subsidies for petrol. The committees were further directed to verify the total cumulative amount of unremitted revenue from the sale of petrol by NNPCL between 2020 and 2023. The House had approved the 2025-2027 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper ahead of next week's presentation of the 2005 appropriation bill to the National Assembly by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Over now to Vice President Kashim Shettima says Nigerian-China trade relations reached $22.6 billion in 2023, making it one of the highest trade volumes between China and any African country. Shettima's spokesman Stanley Ukwocha disclosed this on his official X page, stating that the Vice President, while addressing a Chinese delegation led by the Vice Chairman of the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress, Zhang Qing, at the meeting in Aso Rock Villa, Abuja, commended the trade growth and reassured the delegation of the Nigerian's commitment to fostering stronger ties with China. Oil marketers have outlined the conditions on which they would patronize the newly rehabilitated Port Harcourt Refinery Company in Rivers State. The refinery under the management of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, the marketers say most dispense its refined petroleum products below the prices of the Dangote Petroleum Refinery. In its reaction to the claims, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited noted that its petrol sales were about 1,045 naira per litre, insisting that the refinery had yet to release its prices, as products from the plants were currently dispensed to only NNPCL stations. The oil firm spokesperson Olufemi Sonoye revealed that the company is still reviewing its prices and had yet to commence bulk sales, and its purchasing portal remains closed. On our foreign decks now, former Liberian warlord Prince Johnson, a key player in the 1989-2003 back-to-back civil war, died Thursday at the age of 72. Johnson, who was seen sipping beer in a video as fighters loyal to him tortured then President Samuel Doe to death in 1990, was an influential senator. Prince Johnson, who hailed from the northern region of Nimba, later became a preacher in an evangelical church where he enjoyed wild popularity. Australia says it will ban children under 16 from using social media after its Senate approved the world's strictest laws. The ban, which will not take effect for at least 12 months, could see tech companies fined up to $50 million if they don't comply. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese says the legislation is needed to protect young people from harm of social media, something many parent groups have echoed. The government also says it will rely on some form of age verification technology to implement the restrictions, and options will be tested in the coming months. On our stories now, Manchester United legend Ruud van Nistelrooy has emerged as a leading candidate for the vacant managerial position at Leicester City following dismissal of Steve Cooper. The development came just weeks after Van Nistelrooy's brief stint as United interim boss ended. Van Nistelrooy joined Erik ten Hag's coaching staff as Manchester United during the summer, but was thrust into the managerial role in October following ten Hag's sacking. Despite leading United to 3 wins in 4 matches, including back-to-back victories over Leicester, the Dutchman's interim position ended with the arrival of Ruben Amorim as the club's new head coach. Top fencing nations from around the world, including the United States, Hong Kong, Egypt, and others, are set to participate in the 2024 Men's Junior Epi Fencing World Cup, scheduled for December 14th to 15th in Lagos. Nigeria's prestigious international school, Charterhouse Lagos, will host the tournament, which makes Nigeria the first sub-Saharan African country to host a fencing World Cup. Countries confirmed for the two-day championship include Ghana, Senegal, Greece, Angola, Togo, Benin Republic, and host Nigeria. President of the Nigerian Fencing Federation, Adeyinka Samuel, noted that Nigeria as a choice to host the event is a testament to the country's global recognition. As we end the AM News, here's a quick look at the summary of our top stories again. The chairman of the National Population Commission, NPC, Mr. Kwari, has disclosed that Nigerians' belated census will hold in 2025. In business, Vice President Kashim Shettima says Nigerian-China trade relations reached $22.6 billion in 2023, making it one of the highest trade volumes between China and any African country. On our foreign scene now, former Liberian warlord Prince Johnson, a key player in 1989 to 2003 back-to-back civil war, died on Thursday at the age of 72. And finally, on sports, Manchester United legend Ruud van Nistelrooy has emerged as a leading candidate for the vacant managerial position at Leicester City following the dismissal of Steve Cooper. And that's it on AM News. And of course, a quick reminder that Global TV is on DSTV channel 365, on Star Times channel 276, and free to air on Microsat. Now kindly follow us across all social media platforms now showing on your screen by using at Global TV NG. I am Jumai Manson. Thank you for watching. Good morning.
appreciate you staying with us, everyone. Still Global Morning. We have two big discussions up ahead of us, but it's a Friday, so we're looking at some of the stories from across the country and a little beyond. Just a few days ago, President Bola Tinubu and First Lady Oluwemi Tinubu touched down in France. Of course, it was welcome in grand style. Reception was top-notch, as they say. Of course, the presidents, both our own President Bola Tinubu and his French counterparts, Emmanuel Macron, have had their interactions over many issues in which both countries have interests, all right, food security, climate, and all of that. But President Tinubu has not missed words in making clear to the French leader that, look, when people are hungry, they do not care about environment or weather. So, as one of my friends would say, it is what is in your stomach that controls what's in your head. So what the president is trying to say to Mr. Macron is that, look, we must conquer hunger, and one way to do that is to pursue very vigorously the issue of food security, and then we are able to now look at other issues like weather, issues around the environment, climate change, education, health, infrastructure, military, defense, and what have you. But there's an interesting part of this whole event where the two presidents meet for the first time after a long while, and they are talking in pidgin, exchanging pleasantries, and they were wondering, at what point did President Macron start speaking pidgin? I mean, this is a full-fledged French man. I'm sure Juma has an answer.
I do not have an answer, but for me, that just gives that ambience of feel at home.
Right.
Your brother,
like this together.
This together. It just shows that a bilateral relationship is going to hold. Like, see, that's the thing. Someone once said that if you want someone to be at ease, just say we, or you speak the dialect I understand. That's why when we find ourselves abroad, I might not be from the same, we might not have the same parents. I might not be from your tribe. You could be Igbo, I could be Hausa. But when I see a Nigerian and we can relate, automatically you have that ease and rest of mind. It doesn't matter the color of your skin, it doesn't matter where you're from. So it just shows that bilateral relationship in curbing what we see as food, security, education, and I'm sure health is going to be imputed in there. It's going to happen. Because for someone to tell you you're speaking your dialect, it means just take it easy. We're all, like you said, we're in this together. We're going to try and find a way to curb this menace that wants to erode your particular country. So it just shows, just feel at home, I'm your person. I got you, really.
Quite an interesting way to put it. But again, let's just bring in a bit of history. President Emmanuel Macron had been in Nigeria many years ago for an extended period, working with the French authorities as a French consulate here in Lagos, Nigeria's commercial city, and that gave him the opportunity to interact with the culture, the tradition, the music, the food, and the people in this great country. Recall that when former Governor Ambode was holding sway in Lagos, President Macron had also visited Nigeria at the time, and he couldn't help but just reconnect with those places he had known many years before. So when President Tinubu meets him in Paris, they're speaking pidgin. No surprises.
No surprises as well. In fact, you would have been, oh my goodness, at first, did he just speak pidgin?
Like a culture shock.
Like a culture shock. Like, did he just say, maybe he just said, waiting, they happen. Like, okay. As in, you know, and then the next thing is just flows. It's an amazing.
But I'm so sure that there's no way President Macron can win President Bola Tinubu to that. Yes. He did, buddy.
He did. He did. Exactly, that cracks me up when you say that. But exactly, there's no way he can actually win when it comes to pidgin. How about now? That's the son of the soil. Right? He's going to beat him hands. There's something that he might not even hear well, like you said, on him. But at least for the fact that he made an impute, he tried as much. That's a win for me. It goes a long way. That shows that we're part and parcel of whatever you're going through in it together.
Incidentally, many of the problems now that one country is facing is also the same challenges that other countries across the world are facing. So there's no longer just shared prosperity. There's now the issue of shared challenges. I mean, the COP29 just ended in Baku, Azerbaijan, just a few days ago, and we saw some of the biggest, if you like, most developed countries and those that are referred to as the Global South gather in their country to discuss what the climate is like today. Issues around ozone layer depletion, talking about deforestation, talking about greenhouse emission, and how countries can go green. On top of all that, what the price to pay will be if we have to address all of these issues, and then add to that efforts that individuals can make in their little corner and things like that. And we're hearing that $300 billion is being earmarked now by way of support to help poorer nations, as they're called, to deal with all of these issues. But what it means is that you don't have to go all intellectual about these issues. If you live in an area that is prone to flooding, you're already interfacing, so to speak, with climate change. That's what it means, all right? If you are one of those who say, well, the weather hasn't always been like this, all right? I mean, I've been here for a while to know that a lot has changed about the weather. That means you are beginning to understand that climate change is real. Very real. And for those who are still in denial, we are not so sure for how much longer they will be in that state, but as they say, the taste of the pudding is in the eating.
Yes, it is. And of course, climate change, we've been hearing about climate change for a very long time now, but it's not as prone or as much as we're hearing it now. Climate change is real and it is here to stay. So we just have to find a way around it. When you mention places like into flooding, that's why you have to prepare. It's very important. Like when we heard about the dam, the collapse of our dam that happened, the one that happened in Borno, there was no preparation. That was why it got to that level that a lot of properties' lives were gone. You have to prepare. Climate change is real. It's here to stay. Do you see trees as much as you see them now? No, there's a reduction when it comes to trees, when it comes to manufacturing of goods, manufacturing of production of things in the society. So climate change is real, it's here. So we have to prepare, very importantly. Like you mentioned, flooding in some areas. Some countries are going through what other countries are going through, and some will be going through it in the next few months. Or like we hear of earthquakes. We've not thank God for us in Nigeria, we've not had that. But in other countries, there are earthquakes, there are things like, so you have to prepare and just get yourself ready for it and find a way around it. Very important. We know there are natural disasters, but at the same time, there's an effort you can make to at least it won't be as hazardous as it's going to be in the nearest future.
Yeah, when you talked about trees, the tree planting culture is very important, right? Very. You don't need to plant trees across all, I mean, the entire Abuja, for example. Just plant a few trees within a compound. You can start with one. I mean, the journey of 1,000 kilometers, they say, begins with a step. Yes. So do one tree in your compound, in your office, or wherever it is you spend the most of your time, and then see what happens to that in the year 2, 3, 5, all right? So let's begin to take responsibility for our environment, because this is the earth that God has blessed us with. So much to talk about on the program this morning. We'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll talk about hardship and how families, households, and individuals like Juna and we are dealing with this phenomenon. Do stay with us, everyone. From inflationary pressure to spike in prices of essentials in this country, of course, all of them ties to the increase in the pump price of premium motor spirits, popularly called petrol. The everyday Nigerian can tell you real quick how that times have changed in terms of experiences regarding the costs of living. Somebody jokingly told me in Dubai that, look, boys don't churn out much again these days. Volume has reduced because it takes you to have it to want to have it, if you know what I mean. All right. So if you don't have much money in your pocket, enjoyment can wait for a minute.
It can wait for a minute. No one as in you can have that enjoyment in your home to save costs. Right. But as much as you want to have a nice time, you can go out, buy whatever you want to buy and make it. That's why women are becoming more goggle friendly now. So if I want to make that grilled fish, if I want to make that isewu or that, I can just learn.
What are the cheaper alternatives?
Exactly. So are you kidding me right now? A lot of issues are ongoing, and they, like I said, they high rates of food. Go to the market, excuse me, now that is the festivity. You don't want, like I mentioned in the morning, you don't want to know how much the cost of rice is at the moment. You do not want to know how oil is. So the cheaper alternative, the better. So it's better, like you said, bullying has reduced. But there are some people that don't even care. Some people are used to let it be as high as whatever, as high as the sky. They will still do what they need to do. They tell you it's just one life to live. I should enjoy it to the fullest. But at the same time, you should be wise, because before you know it, festivity is over. We're going to talk about school fees, house rent, electricity. You that you're in band A, for instance. Well done.
Banded.
You cannot. They just stay there. But really, the hardship is much. A lot of people are going through a lot, and that is why this the visit to France by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to meet the President of France, Emmanuel Macron, is very important, because it is needed at this time when it comes to food, when it comes to security, when it comes to education, healthcare. I keep mentioning healthcare because you cannot jeopardize all of these things. The hardship is really high. A lot of people are going through a lot. People are being suicidal. I'm telling you, some people cannot afford
over the realities.
Over the reality, some people cannot afford to take care of their families. Talk about the head of the home. You know, men, like I didn't say it, but we all know that you all have ego, right?
Oh, men do know.
You still have your ego.
Sounds strange to me.
It does.
I'm learning something.
But the truth is, no man will want to be downgraded because he cannot provide for his family.
Basics.
Just the basic amenity. It's heartbreaking. When he's there, he is crippled. He cannot do anything. And a lot of households, that is the reality now. A lot of households, the men cannot balance that. Some children are out of school because the rate of transporting that child to school, like when you calculate the transportation alone. First, you're not talking about what the child is going to gain. I know a household, because of the high cost of transportation, there's a particular day the child goes to school, and it's Monday, Wednesday. There's an important event Thursday, but you know it's 3 times in a week. It doesn't matter how you do it, just know that you're going 3 times. You only go 5 times in a week, which is Monday to Friday, when you have tests or exams. But the rest is 3 times. Some have even dropped out of school. That is the reality now. Some families they cannot remember where they ate rice. It's as bad as that. They stick with and
that's a staple food in this part of the world.
What do you say? That's this. When you hear Sunday rice, you're always excited. Back in the day, you hear Sunday rice, people tell you Sundays is for rice. It's either for fried rice. Like, I'm a foodie, and I don't. It's either for fried rice, it's either for white rice and stew, it's either for jollof rice, whatever it is, rice. Especially the rice and stew Sunday. But now it's not like that anymore. Now someone would tell you, normally when you serve, when you dish food, the little one in the pot, you don't even care about it, you can just wash it up. But now people actually take the spoon and take it out. That is the reality now. A lot of people are going through a lot. People don't eat 3 times a day anymore. Some would tell you zero is nothing. So I'm going to understand when I say zero is nothing. So it's 0, 0, 1. You eat at night till the next day.
So you skip breakfast and lunch.
Of course. So you skip breakfast, skip lunch, and that is it now. That is a reality check right now. And it's just unfortunate but we hope and we pray that things will get better. We do not know. That's why I say I am a patriot anytime, anything, because this is the only country that we have. You cannot get this kind of freedom anywhere else. That is why the government has a very big role to play. I commend this trip to France. I will tell you, as long as it is beneficial to us as Nigerians when it comes to food first. Nobody who cares about security. Let there be something in my stomach
First. Everything else is secondary.
What are you saying? Yeah, food is number 1. It's the reality. You just look at youths, for instance. If they are hungry, do you know the havoc they will cause in this country? It almost got to that point, but thank God that it didn't get to that point.
Well, President Bola Tinubu has reassured that we can't get any worse than this. And now, talking about food and all of these commodities, Jumai, we understand the rise of food and the price of fuel. Particularly, finally, at least we understand an aspect of it is already working. That's taken off, even though again, controversies are trailing this issue now.
Exactly.
With some reports that, the products that were lifted actually were old stock and all that. You see, Nigerians have run out of patience regarding all of this back and forth. What I just want to see now is that the refinery is working, at least an aspect of it. And then we're moving on to fix Warri and Kaduna as well to do the same. At least complement whatever we're getting from the Dangote refinery. Because ultimately, if we're able to cut down very significantly on the price of petrol, it means that things will naturally drop in terms of their prices. I mean, look at how much people spend to commute between their homes and their workplaces. These days, people, first of all, will look at what you're paying them vis-a-vis what it will cost them to go to work every day for 30 days. Otherwise, they're not taking the offer. All right, these are people who before now would jump at such offers because they know that it's not just about taking the offer. It's about whether or not that money can bring it back to work the next day and the next day and the day after that.
And that is why Nigerians have now, there's this awakening that has happened. That is why we'll check at if there's any loophole, especially when it comes to the refinery in Port Harcourt. Right. Everyone is checking to see if there's any loophole, if it's just a strategy of the government or something. And that is why people are now they are now awake and they want to. Because Nigerians are tired at this point, but hopefully things are done right. Hopefully it will get better. It will bring succor when it comes to decrease in fuel and all of that. Hopefully, fingers crossed. And let's just give kudos to Dangote Refinery and see how well this will all play out. Hopefully for the positive and for the beneficial for all of us as Nigerians.
We keep hope alive, but let's take a quick break, everyone. We'll return shortly with the rest of the program for you.
Stay tuned. Do not go anywhere.
every budgetary cycle in this country, it is either we're talking about padding of some kind, or the focus is on whether or not we are able to surmount the challenge of deficits regarding that budget, because in the middle, factors like the price of crude in the international market, the benchmark for the Naira-dollar elements, and several other fundamentals will drive the narrative around how that budget will be implemented. For this year that's in front of us, the 2025 cycle, we understand the executive arm of government under the leadership of President Bola Tinubu is proposing just a little over 48 trillion naira. Of course, we hope to see him do that presentation, all else equal, next week to a joint session of the National Assembly. But of course, that will just be the start of what is going to be the 2025 budget, which of course by then would have become a law following passage and assent by the president. But what exactly is, or should I say, are the missing links in our budget? Because look at what has happened since 2016 till date, 9 years and counting, and not much has changed about how we budget, let alone how we implement our budget. Add to that, Chief Olisa Agbakoba, himself a senior lawyer in this country and one who has always lent his voice to economic issues in Nigeria, now says that given the trajectory that we're seeing now, by 2030, just 6 years away, Nigeria would have hit about 500 trillion in budget. I've spoken to people off record who say this is ridiculous, and they are questioning the metrics or the benchmarks by which Mr. Agbakoba came to this conclusion. That's one of the things we'll find out in the course of the program this morning. Second, we turn our attention to the South, Edo State in particular, where the issue of governance is on the forefront. Of course, it's just been about 18 days since former Governor Godwin Obaseki left office. The man in charge now, Senator Monday Okpebholo, is busy bringing his own kind of reforms. First of all, he says going forward, he wants to correct what he refers to as the errors committed by the previous administration that had been in office for 8 years. We have a committee now set up to deal with the issue of recovery of government property, particularly vehicles. That committee now says to us that at least 30 vehicles have been recovered, and they have 2 more weeks, by today 13 days precisely, to wrap up their work. In the meantime, what will change in the life of the everyday Edo man, Edo woman on account of this government and the policies and action initiatives it pursues for the next 4 years in the first instance? I'm joined by Haruna Brimo, who is a political analyst and a socio-economic expert, to help us find some sense in these two conversations. Haruna, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning, Chief.
Okay, first, I'd like us to start with the issue of budget. I mean, that happens to be one of your areas of strength.
Yeah.
How is it that our budgetary cycle always comes with question marks? Is it not possible to have a budget where you don't have suspicion, whether from the executive or from the legislature, or ultimately from Nigerians themselves?
Yeah. The first thing is for Nigerians to able understand the budget we are operating. The budget cycle itself is classified along 4 areas, from point of policies of government, policies priority, preparations, approval, and evaluations. Where does, across these 4 areas of classification, 2 are very crucial, or about 3 of it very crucial to the executive. The executive government or arm of government drives the policies of the government. When you create these policies, then you prioritize among the economic policies, which are we going to capture within the fiscal year, which is fiscal year is 12 months. The cycle is 12-month cycle. Which, because the whole economic policies of the government within the next 4 or 8 years, as the case may be, might not be captured in 1-year budget.
Right.
So you prioritize these policies.
First is first.
First is first. The one that then you create your parameters to put them in Naira and Kobo, in revenue and expenditure, expectation wise. Then you drop to the legislators, the National Assemblies for approval, and they will review everything. You know, how are you going to fund the budget? Where do you think what are the premises upon which you projected your projections, and when it's approved, now comes back to you as executive again, which is the third responsibility to you now, implementation. You know, how you implement the budget can only be determined by the effect of such budget on the lives of the people and the economy itself, which now gives rise to budget evaluation. The evaluation is now where everybody is supposed to, where civil society is supposed to get involved, where the citizens are supposed to get involved, the checks. You understand? This is just the budget cycle on its own. But generally speaking, we should realize that the federal government budget is not the national budget.
So what then is the national budget?
It's a combination of the whole budget in Nigeria.
All the subnationals combined.
Exactly. I keep saying it that Nigeria cannot move forward economically if the three tiers of government are not working hand in hand. They are not moving sequentially.
Heading in the same direction.
Exactly. Every time we keep dissecting and analyzing the federal government budget, and we call it national budget, unfortunately, and we use it as a base to evaluate, to drive narrative that are wrongs, and this wrong is what we consume ignorantly to now begin to either praise or condemn the government of the day. You understand? The federal government budget is just limited to the about 50% of the revenue expectations of the federal government. What about the other 50% revenue, where 30% goes to the state and 70% goes to the state, as propounded by Revenue Mobilization, Fiscal and Allocation Commission? That is also what those states are going to rely on to prepare their own state budget. He added their IGR. That is what the local government is going to rely on, its own 70% to prepare its own budget. So the same process of prioritizing policies direction, prioritizing the policies, taking it to State House of Assembly, the local government taking it to local government legislators, councillors for approval, now going back for implementation. They are also the executive. The local government chairman is the executive in the local government. The state government, the executive in the states. They also have their own legislators who approve their respective budget. The implementation process still lies on President Tinubu, but on the governor and the local government chairman. What of the evaluation of efficiency of the budget? If we understand this and we begin to check it all, the impact, as you mentioned, if Nigerians will feel the impact of this budget, we will be on a better position to say that. But as it is now, you don't give somebody that is having 48 to 50% of your revenue, total national revenue, you want him to take responsibility of your well-being 100% of the problem of the country. It's not possible.
So all of this comes from a place of ignorance. That's what you're saying.
Absolutely. So until we begin to discuss Nigeria holistically along the three tiers of government, is it that Nigerians have even forgotten that we are operating federalism? This is a federation. We are federating.
Is that like in principle? Is it in practice?
We have to make it in practice. I told somebody yesterday that Nigeria as a country is just a geographical entity without the people called Nigerians. We have to make Nigeria work. Nigeria can only be working when the people seem to be working. Nigeria can be enlightened when people seem to be. Nigeria can be developed when people begin to develop and drive innovative ideas. Nigeria is about the people. It's about citizenship, education. Without Nigerians, you just have a land mass and forests and animals, possibly. We are the humans that is giving value to this geographical enclave. Unfortunately, the people that are moving narrative who are supposed to be exposed, they are all for selfish interest, not driving the real thing.
Okay,
Makoba that is talking, I'm not against him. He's allaying his fears and opinion or whatever. First thing first, over the years, he was in a campaign for democracy. He was a human rights lawyer. He's been in the system for over 3 decades. What kind of conscientization drive are this civil society group embark on to let Nigeria know how Nigeria is structured, fiscal structure, we will continue to go around in circles if we don't do some of these things. Everybody is waiting for Tinubu to present budget. When the budget is presented, we will now take education. You will now see somebody going on social media. How much did Tinubu project for education? They say so XYZ figure. So you see, how can so figure be able to cater for the education need of Nigeria? You will forget to realize that what Tinubu just provided here is for the education at federal level.
So the subnational should take care of themselves.
They have budget for education too. Don't they have educational responsibility? Education is in the concurrent list.
Right.
Education is also in the residual list of the local government. So local government have the same power with Tinubu on education. State have the same power. State can create their own universities. They have it.
And we've seen that happen again and again.
But when the chips are down, they chicken out. If the issue of ASU come to the front burner now, who do you blame? Is it not the federal government? Who signed an agreement with ASU? By the time the agreement is signed, when the whole Ibro glow is going on, the governors will keep quiet.
So
when the agreement is now signed, the same governors will not come back to tell you that they cannot implement ASU agreement. And they don't have what it takes. But when the agreement was being signed, you kept quiet. We have blackmailed the system, and it's now giving a leeway to these governors to be corrupt. Because nobody, the eye will feast, the fixation we have on the federal government. If we have half of such attention across 16 states in Nigeria, I have said it here that if 16 states in Nigeria are efficiently driving a governance, Nigeria will work.
Okay, so let's talk about driving governance now. Like I mentioned at the top of this discussion, President Bola Tinubu, barring any last-minute changes, will do a presentation next week. For whatever it's worth, Nigerians have their eyes towards that end, seeing where the president will present sector by sector, whether capital or recurrent expenditure or what have you. There have always been concerns around capital expenditure as far as budgeting is concerned in Nigeria. How is it that we always don't seem to have our priorities right in that area?
Yeah, because of the bloated recurrent expenditure that we carry most of the time, we've not really been able to rejig our fiscal system in a way that concentrates on CAPEX activities and reduce the recurrent expenditures. Because we are not driving efficiency in governance. A government can be effective, not efficient. Efficiency means reducing your recurrent expenditure in governance. People that are participating in your government. You see a particular state governor, for example, in the last administration in Edo State, the state governor was having over 3,600 essays.
But of course, that was political appointments for the most part.
Are they not recurrent? Are we not using recurrent drive for them? That recurrent expenditure. Presidency, maybe you have almost 1,000 whatever, retinue of 8, both for ministers, both for vice president, both for presidency. Every minister you are seeing in the Federal Republic is going with at least minimum of 7 to 10 aides. Every senator you are seeing in the National Assembly or House of Rep has up to 5 to 10 aides.
Is that a problem if these aides are bringing value, measurable value? Is that a problem?
It has become a political settlement. Like in Edo State, you don't need to be in government house. They don't give they are not assisting governor in any way, apart from going on Facebook and just endorsing anything the governor. They don't even understand what the governor is doing. Some of them have never been to Benin City. Some are in my village. They've not even been to the local government headquarters. But one way or the other, imagine 3,600 essay. It just means practically you have engaged 3,600 people that have your endorsement in your second term drive. Now it's 3,600 vote for you.
Already?
And during the election, they do it in a way that during the election, they now mandate you to bring 5 people. So look at the multiplier effect. We are still driving, we are more political.
Even with our budgeting.
Exactly. So you have to create these things there. I call them for satisficing, for selfish interest. You create that slack. In the same process you create a slack variable to make your process not flow well for your own satisficing, for your own selfish interest. Until we begin to reduce, and this padding of budget is not limited to National Assembly. The padding starts from the executive. And we also have to change our budget type. As far as we continue to do zero-based budget, we'll continue to have issues.
What should it be ideally?
You know, I think if we let's try our hands in other form of budgeting. We have cash budgeting. Another, even the medium-term expenditure framework was a bit like an attempt to try to, you know, as I said, they create these things, it's very good, but at the end of the day, they know that they are not going to implement it well. But when you zero-based means your total revenue for the year must be equal to your total expenditure. That means at the end of the year, you must have zero balance in the account. So the no
money less.
Exactly. So 48.70 trillion that you are budgeting now, it shows that by 31st December, on nominal basis, by 31st December 2025, that the budget of the federal government balance should be zero. So whether we like it or not, you must utilize the money.
And that has never been the case.
They will not utilize it because the budget will drag, will split to the next year. When did we finish implementing the 2023 budget? Almost in April.
And that's an aberration.
There are some. They still have this budget allocation that still need to be utilized, unutilized budget. So there should be a way of carry forward. Add it back to the next. It become an opening balance. If it's a regular accounting system, you use prior year adjustment to bring it to the next financial year.
But the way you're saying, it's obvious. I mean, what can they use that? We just deliberately create systems. We need the door open for a reason.
For example, do they have a asset useful life in the public sector? Because the same asset you are budgeting under zero-based budget, for example, this chair, its useful life normally maybe 5 years. But when it gets to the government accounting or the public sector or in government circle, it's expected that after 1 year,
you change it.
You will rebudget for this chair again. It's expected that this chair is obsolete after 12 months. Meanwhile, you see the ministry or the agency, MDA, still using the same chair, using the same facility for almost 10 years, but we are budgeting repeatedly every other year. It's just to create voucher to cover up. They'll claim the money.
Okay, let's talk about
that is what is really driving. Because when you want to create the budget for this chair for next year now, you consider inflation. Other economic indices that may have influenced it for the price to go up.
Right.
You are bloating up the recurrent expenditure. But if you are operating a type of budget that will know that what are the asset registers of the government? What is the useful life of each of these assets? So that we know the depreciable period. Are we going to be using a straight line method to calculate the depreciation, matching with the useful life? We now know that a particular asset is supposed to spend five years. And within that 5 years, that asset until the 5 years lapse and the asset become by depreciation, that is totally zero. Before you now budget for it. But a situation whereby you are still using zero-based budget, that the asset is the expected useful life is when you know that even the manufacturer has tell you that they are giving you a warranty of 5 years. But in your records, because of the kind of accounting system you have choose to operate for ridiculous corrupt purpose, you are saying it's 12 months. You write it off from the books and bring it. The asset is still living in your office, still in your office.
Still in use.
It's still in use in your office. Or you write it off in the book, you bring it again.
There's an aspect of budgeting that is sort of a nagging problem for Nigeria. And that's the issue of budget deficit, which of course is a natural phenomenon in a country. But then, just even last week, we were told that there's still a 9 trillion deficit with regards to the current, the ongoing budget, which is 2024, and all of that. It raises the question of how we fund that budget. Of course, Nigeria continues to borrow as part of trying to close that deficit gap, and all of that. But let's talk about tax in this regard. We're not hearing that with the way we're going with our taxing system. I mean, all of these reforms being introduced by President Tinubu. By the way, the tax reforms bill, all 4 of them, we understand, have a scaled second reading just yesterday. So it appears to be some sort of indication of legislative progress regarding those proposals put forward by the executive. But how do we ensure that we get it right with our taxing? Because there's a correlation between tax system and budgeting in terms of funding a budget, for example. Now, the authorities, the tax authorities, led by Dr. Zacchaeus Adedeji, the chairman of the FIRS, is now saying that, look, we don't need more taxes. We need more taxpayers. Of course, it's more like a case of chicken and egg and all that. But I guess the logic in that argument is that you don't necessarily need to be looking for more money by way of taxation. Instead, bring more people, more taxpayers into the tax net, especially from the informal sector, for example. I mean, overhaul the tax system. I guess that's the point he's making. But are we ready for that conversation? And then those nuances in this narrative, help us straighten them up.
First of all, what he's trying to say is it's not necessarily increasing. If you notice, they are reducing.
Right.
With the new tax reforms, a lot of
if you earn 1 million and below
reliefs has to be brought
in this proposal.
Yeah. Even before now, they made some attempt. Even when you're as a business owner, if your turnover or your company turnover is less than 30 million, you are practically exempted from paying a company income tax.
And that's a relief.
What he's talking about is those that are supposed to pay tax in Nigeria, the real people that are supposed to be taxed are under tax. Some are not even being taxed at all. Bring them into the tax nets. They are supposed to be there. There are all forms of ad valorem tax, luxury tax, only CGT alone, if we efficiently utilize capital gain tax in Nigeria, we will see how much we'll be earning from it. PPT, petroleum profit tax, property taxes. People that are building mansions in high-rising mansions across luxurious areas, exclusive zones in some of the big cities in Nigeria. Only the housing sector alone, the real estate sector, if well reformed and well organized and taxed well, do you know how many deals happen in the real estate business?
On a daily basis.
On a daily basis. Properties are being sold from one hand to another. Deals are being keyed, are being concluded without giving to government what belongs to government. At the end of the month, at the end of the year, the company, the particular real estate company just pay company income tax. Where are the capital gain taxes from it? Do you know how many cars are being sold in Nigeria? Businesses that are exchanging hands in car dealers and what have you. Machineries. These are areas. The luxury activities. People own yachts and private jets in this country. Just go to the entertainment industry. The luxury lifestyle. The money. That's an industry that runs in billions of dollars. They are not in the tax dragnet. So why are you disturbing a kiosk owner, a petty trader, for all sorts of levies, from local government levies to this, to produce, to whatever? These are the things they want to eliminate. So that we channel our energy towards the people that are supposed to bring the real money in taxes to the system. While you empower, that is progressiveness in taxation. That's one of the perquisites or characteristics of good tax system. It has to seem to be progressive enough so that it can give person the tax is not supposed to be a burden.
But why is the case of Nigeria different? Because every time we talked a while ago, you were always using the conditional clause, if we reform, if we structure. Why is that difficult? Why is that difficult?
You can see why it's difficult, even in the National Assembly. So people are deliberately feigning ignorance, economic ignorance, to drive political narrative. People, the likes of Ndume. You think he does not know what he's doing? That you have not for a particular bill or reform proposal before you in National Assembly that you are a ranking senator, you've not been able to go through the bill, yet you go on television every now and then to oppose it, but you've not gone through it. This is like the third time I'm discussing about that reform, that tax whatever. But you have not gone through it. Some governors in the northern governor, they are politicized, they have attempts. That is why we still continue to use the word if when it's done. Let's do the right thing to strengthen fiscal federalism. when the fiscal structure of a country is good, fiscal federalism is driven, the economy will rebound. And when the economy rebounds, nobody will be talking of agitation. Hypobia, Niger Delta militants, everything will settle. Economy, a bad economy breeds criminality, breeds tension, breeds agitation. Even all this later day advocacy that are all shrouded in criminalities, as far as I'm concerned, cash and carry activists up and down, it's all for economic survival, not for the real thing. So why don't we just agree to reform this system? Let everybody be serious.
All right, I think that's where we're going.
Can you be contributing less than 600 million to VAT and you are collecting 2.5 billion as a state? Are you happy over it? A state that is where the thing that is laying the golden egg is not having access to that. And they're not telling you to wake up so that you also contribute more and earn more.
So with all of these reforms,
earn more from VAT, contribute more.
Because the system will be competitive.
I'm telling you, the state governor have the microeconomic policy power in the constitution. You open up your rural economy, make it work, and when they begin to produce valuable goods, you will be earning more.
So the governors up north will need to do more work on their end.
To do more work. It's not even limited to up north. What of if some states in the south? Do you know how many oil companies are in River State and Niger Delta? Here their headquarters are in Lagos and in Abuja. So the VAT that is supposed to accrue to this state in Niger Delta goes more to Abuja and other Lagos. It's not limited. They are just blackmailing. They are sounding to be politically correct. This is all encompassing. This policy is for everybody. It's not only the 19 other states that is going to. Some other states are also suffering it. So why not you create, if you are producing agriculture in the north, as a governor, begin to drive policies that will create agricultural value chains in industry, processing. Invite or drive environment that will bring about investors in the processing, agricultural processing company, food processing company, all these things. So you don't even take your raw material from the north to the south.
All right, I think this there's going to be ample time to talk about all of this because so far where we stand, the bills as being proposed are just scaled second reading. So let's see what happens going forward. We're taking a quick break, and shortly we'll return to take a look at what is happening in Edo State regarding the style of governance there and what the impact has been based on the assessment of those who are alive on the ground in Edo. All right, we move things up a little now to look at what Senator Monday Okpebholo, the governor of Edo State, has been doing by way of trying to reposition the state, at least based on what he came with as his agenda for prosperity and growth. So, incidentally, you are an Edo man and you are apparently vehemently passionate about what is happening in Edo regarding the governance and all of that there. Obaseki had done 8 years and it's gone. Now one would have thought, well, let bygone be bygone and so on and so forth. But that hasn't been the case. How is it that almost 3 weeks since the man left office, it is still almost as if we have 2 governors in Edo State?
No.
Obaseki and Okpebholo. So how do we explain the Obaseki narrative in a new government?
Negatively. First of all, congratulations to Edo State. The state is now being repositioned on the trajectory of progressive governance. The new governor on inauguration posited 5-point agendas, varying from education, infrastructure, security, health, and the economy. And if you look at it, there's a link among all this. A healthy people drive productivity, which in turn improves the economies of the people. Investment in education is one of the biggest panacea to driving innovation and solving challenges in our societies. Infrastructural revolution is the bedrock upon which every economic activity strives. Because even you talk of localization of industry, one of the factors that will bring about industries is good infrastructure, good roads network. We open the rural economy. We stratify the state and open up the state for re-investors, not MOU, not investors on papers. MOU that cannot translate to reinvestment is useless. Security is also security infrastructure by extension. And in the last 10 to 15 days, we see what has been going on. What eroded this administration was a palpable fear of court clashes and what have you. You saw how, as the chief security officer, he took responsibilities. On the economy-wise, the local economy of Edo State, he has to rescue the spiral inflation of produce, goods and services that was going on in Edo State. On this program, I told you that Edo State was among the most costly states when it comes to
food items.
But you saw what he did. There have been a lot of economic sabotage in the name of unions, associations, who became a clog on the wheel of progress of Edo State for the past 8 years. They were accommodated by the governor, because the former governor, because they were using them for political interest group. But he came, firm leadership, decisive administration. He ordered the stoppage of all those, banned them. Because being a union or being an association does not give you the rights by any law to go and be collecting levies from people for yourselves, or hijacking, becoming a spurious middleman, hijacking goods from people, selling at exorbitant prices, and creating unnecessary hardship in the economy. And the other one, infrastructural revolution. He hit the ground running. You talk of Obaseki, we're talking of firm infrastructure here. We're not talking of fake. You could see the roads that he has a bank on, even the ones that were ongoing, how he visit there, review things. And for the first time, we're talking of having a flag. Is it not even an irony? Edo State, or Edo as a nation, was already a city before the invasion in 1897. Edo was among the first kingdom in Africa to have street lights. In Africa, where there was no Nigeria. It's ironic that over almost 60-something years of Nigerian independence, Edo State remained like an ancient city without modern infrastructure to drive the real economy, making people at times regard us as civil servant states. And the man has hit the ground running in that regard, trying to create a back on revolutionary infrastructures. Groundbreaking ceremonies, construction started. In education, is going around the schools, awarding contract immediately, because some of the project is awarded today. He saw them during campaign, like the school in Ovia that was in shambles. To tell you, is somebody that does not forget. Keep it to his promise. He promised them during campaign, and after winning election, the school in Ovia was among the first place he went to. So how is Obaseki? How do you have two governors in the state? Obaseki belonged to the wrong history, unfortunately.
So
the traditional institution, what the governor just did.
With the artifacts.
Not just artifacts, restoring the status. When we were saying it here, it was all about as if it was allegation that the former governor was already threatening, issuing letters, correspondence that altered the status of the Oba of Benin in the traditional equation. The Edo South, they wanted to balkanize it into the 7 local governments. Each local government will now be having a local government traditional council. Meanwhile, the entire Edo South of 7 local governments have one traditional council, which is the Benin Traditional Council, headed by the Oba of Benin. You saw what Ubewole is doing now, returning that status back. Look at what they wanted to do from Oba Kezua Cultural Center. all those reversals. It's not we are putting a door on the trajectory of real progress, real governance, not governance for pure selfish interest. Nobody cares about. We are not visiting the past, but you cannot move forward without reviewing what you met on ground. Should I just continue? Look at the hospital. They show it on television. Which day? 2 days ago. You commission an ongoing project as if you said it's completed. You just come a block in the hospital, the Stella Obasanjo Hospital. Just a block was when you painted a block inside the full hospital. And commission it as you say ultramodern, multi-billion. In specific, can Obasanjo tell us how much in specific is the amount in that for that hospital? And you are still seeing corporate work going on in some part of the hospital. It was on air. Is that not a sham? And somebody feel we should not mention his name. He belongs to the wrong history. Edo Benin Enterprise Park, since 2017, you told us it's an enterprise that an industry will be there. After 8 years, with billions sank into it, the new government discovered that it's just a perimeter fence. And you don't want it to be reviewed? In July 2023, you awarded the Radisson Blu Hotel a contract. You announced to the whole world, awarded for 19 billion. To Shipoli Nigeria Limited. Meanwhile, in the records of the contractor is 15 billion. Fast forward to 2024. Less than a year later, you review the contract to 23 billion. And again, within few months, everything became 28 billion.
For the Radisson Blu project.
And you now claim is a PPP, is a private arrangement. Meanwhile, Obaseki's firm, Afri Investment, did the financial feasibility plan for the project and collected about 3 billion. Meanwhile, Asha Igodalo's law firm was the legal advisor for the project, collected 1.5 billion.
So Afri Invest collected consultancy.
Of course. Signing MOU with yourselves. You told us you are a refinery. You are going to you went to China. You are bringing refinery to Ologbo. You signed an agreement that Edo State and the Chinese outfit was going to build the refineries. And the man that served as a friend of his, Osime, who served as a witness in that deal in China, today is now the managing director of the refinery. They removed in the whole structure of the refinery. Now you can't even find the Chinese. You can't find the Edo. It's now a private owned company. Meanwhile, Edo State government in the books, it shows that Edo State government released released 1 billion as a take-off grant, with added to the fact that you collected land from Ologbo indigenes. And you now say it's only owned company. And you don't want those people to ask questions. So it's been mentioned in the negatives, and it's unfortunate.
So let's.
You told us you are building industrial park, another industrial park in Esan, that you want to replicate it across the 3 local government, 3
central districts. Yes.
You will arrange another one in Auchi. You even approve and appropriated 4.something billion for truck modern trucking zone in Aviele.
That's next to Auchi.
Yes, and nothing. There's no. Let's just show us the land self. Appropriated though. And you say we should not mention it. Obalolo is starting well. We are not witch-hunting anybody, but we are reviewing as we are going forward. Whatever we come across, we have to let the other people know.
Should Obaseki be probed?
That would be the decision of.
No, I know you don't make that call, but I'm saying, given all of this you have said and much more, I guess you know. Do you think Obaseki should be?
A lot of reversals is going to be done.
But that's not a probe.
It is not because the reversal, whoever is obstructing the reversal is calling for probe.
Including the former governor.
Of course, because when you are obstructing the reversal of wrong policies, for example, you pump our money in Ologbo, the refinery in Ologbo, and you expect the money, and you are not claiming that the refinery is a private-owned refinery. Then it's either the private company return Edo State money to them, pay for the land, return the 1 billion initial investment. You understand? Or the structure is restructured in a way and Edo State have a share on an equity arrangement. If that one is not possible, then you are inviting for probe. Yes, you have to help us. The same thing with the Radisson Blue Hotel. All those things will be reviewed with all the respective people he's dealing with.
Okay, talking about the people he's dealing with, we hear many of his former aides are now, as it were, on the radar of the new government under the leadership of Mr. Okpebholo, because we understand a lot of recovery is being done, including vehicles, for instance. Yeah. But this is not the first time we're seeing a committee like this being set up. I mean, Adams Oshiomhole did the same 16 years ago. That report never saw the light of day. So what difference does this make?
Recovery. They are not talking of when we recover what we want to recover, we let you go. We are just correcting an anomalies. That you serve as a political appointee under a governor does not give you the right to collect government.
But some of those people say that these items, including some of the vehicles, had already been monetized under former Governor Godwin Obaseki.
Give us records. You think the government is not stupid? They must have reviewed. Why are you returning it? Why don't you take the government to court if you actually own the vehicles by rights? Whether it was monetized, so you take it up. Why don't you take the government up? Why don't you go and get a court injunction? Stopping the government from collecting the vehicle from you or collecting the asset. You remember even before the swearing in, the deputy governor announced and wrote a circular to some of the permanent secretaries and directors of state agencies that that this is the rumor is hearing, nobody should go away with government properties. So proof to the committee. The committee is made up of people with great minds, intelligent men,
including, for the most part, party members of the APC who have an axe to grind with Obaseki.
Like what?
For example, you have people like Razak Bello Sagi, you have people like Asen Ojozuwa, former chairman of the party in the state. These are people who have
that's not the fact that you stole vehicles and you collected government properties into your hands.
And then you use political enemies to hunt them.
You don't use, you call them political enemies. There's no enemies in politics, it's permanent interest.
So this is the interest of the governor?
No, the interest of the Edo State government. This is not about APC or PDP. The Obaseki you are talking about, was it not in APC before?
But let me ask you something real quick. Yeah, of course, he moved at the twilight of the election in 2020. Exactly. But let's talk about Obaseki in office for 8 years, because the coloration that this government under Okpebholo is giving to Obaseki and his government is that he never got anything right. But can we not stop for a second and look at some of the things he did do right?
Got something right, they would have voted this party out. And to be candid, the head of his economic team, who was the candidate of the PDP, the people voted. It's not about APC now. People choose a progressive government over MOU in sham government. What did he do right? Every attempt to do something right was to do it wrong for a selfish interest.
Including education, agriculture, and the civil service, for example.
$75 million to do Edo Best. Now Okpebholo is rebuilding schools. What is the Edo Best in education? Do you know what is $75 million translated in Naira? Just do the calculation. That is not the regular budget for education. Just a one-off program inside education policy was the Edo Best. Edo Best was supposed to create the best in education for Edo people, from primary to secondary. And you bequeathed a legacy of dilapidated education infrastructure. We should talk about it. What of the agriculture you mentioned? You are from Edo North. The next time you go home, you should just take a car and go to Sobe, where he sank for 3 billion. That we are going to be producing rice. And I'm not talking of the Anchor Borrow scheme that Edo State collected over 5 billion. Where is the rice? Edo State, in a bag of rice today in Edo State goes for almost 120,000 naira. And Edo State have the capacity, just 4 local governments in rice production can feed Delta, Edo, Ekiti, and Ondo. If well stratified. Ilushi farm, Anegbete farm, Agbede Warake farm, Sobe farm, Subeno farm, Agenebode Leventis farm. Still talking about agriculture, what of the 69 billion palm oil investment window created by the then CBN under President Muhammadu Buhari and presented? You mentioned agriculture. So which of the policies are we really talking about?
So he never got it right for 8 years.
It wasn't about rhetorics. And they were grandstanding using, how can you renovate, you want to repent and renovate a building that you never built. Ogbomunda Stadium, why did they call it Ogbomunda Stadium? Former Ogbe Stadium was built by Ogbomunda. Successive administration has been renovating it. Renovation is maintenance of assets. You add it to the value of the asset. It does not constitute the historical cost value. You add it to the historical cost value. The history of the asset belongs to the achievement belongs to who historically conceptualized and built it.
Right.
Are we going to talk of the secretarial building? You renovated and you put it on 5D. You now begin to glamorize it on a screen. We are building hub here and there. Which of the hub? What became the impact? Almost 9 billion GDP economy in dollars. You could not stratify, and you say you are an investment banker with Aso Egodalo as your economic advisor. It just tell you that in these 3 C's, credibility, competence, and capacity. When credibility is off it, your competence and capacity is useless. The problem of Obaseki was never about competence and capacity. Even some of the people he worked with, they had the capacity, and some of them had competence, but when they lack credibility.
But when Oshomole brought him in 2016, did he not know that he didn't have the first C, which is credibility?
Oshomole was the leader, so he was able to use him. Now Obaseki became the leader. And he was lacking credibility. So every other person that was competent and have capacity under him will flow with his style of leadership that lacks credibility.
So Oshomole never knew that. I mean,
let me come again.
Please, yes.
Oshomole was the credible leader.
In 2016.
I'm a manager. I'm a business owner. I know my staffs. If I'm not credible, my credibility can be able to cover up for the non-credibility of some of my staff.
So you can hire someone without credibility because you know you.
I can manage his capacity and competence. That is what I need for my productivity. While I'm the credible one, he will caution himself not to misbehave.
But he was going to be the governor of Oshomole after 2016.
Do you understand? Because it was Oshomole managing him, he never showed his.
So it was when they parted ways.
Of course.
That became apparent. That according to you, this man didn't have credibility.
He's now the chief executive officer of the state, no longer Oshomole.
So you should have given it yourself now, allowed Oshomole to continue to manage him the whole time.
No, not necessarily. Oshomole was already off.
Right.
Oshomole was off the scene. If you love Edo people, even when the credibility was lacking in you, inherently you know, it's psychological, it's in you, it's a character. Strength of character matters in leadership.
Okay, I'm
supposed to have worked on that.
Right.
But they allow it to flatter because how can you explain that you are serving the interest, stewardship leadership? You came to serve the interest of Edo State, and you were fettering Edo's progress in the hands of outsiders. We are using consultancy to run the whole state. Look at the e-governance. How many we want to talk? Not everybody realizes in the whole Nigeria that Edo State is the only state that is driving e-governance. You can access anything about Edo State, go online, you get anything you want, procurement, blah blah blah. And in the procurement process, the so-called smooth due process that you initiated, you design in the system, is leading to projects that are awarded without even anything going on there, and monies are released. Does that not defeat whatever essence or relevance of the procurement, the smooth procurement process? That's the credibility I'm talking about. Can we still talk about the Sobe farm? The contractors, did they pass through the process of procurement the smooth process, the most talk about Obasanjo's e-governance in procurement process. What of the Radissi Blue that I just explained to you? That you have to be awarded the contract almost 3 times. It's snowballed from 15 billion to 28 billion within just 1 year. And they went through the same smooth e-governance process. Meanwhile, we now discover now that the e-governance platform entirely was outsourced. Do you know what that means? That's even an attack on the security of Edo State. Don't you know? These are sensitive issues.
Is that why the government of Ekpe now says that some non-state actors are operating it from the back end?
You cannot outsource such critical. Why not? Can they be integrated? Can they be integrated into the system?
Work in-house.
Of course. So the man that is driving, what tomorrow you just wake up in this era of cyber manipulation? Can Washington outsource their e-governance platform to outsiders? If you wake up tomorrow and you discover that the federal government treasury to go account is outsourced to an outsider, how will you feel? This station, the whole television stations in Nigeria will not rest that day. But whenever it's an APC state, we tend to grandstand. If found wanting, Obasanjo should be arrested. He's exposing the state.
Well, the man has said that he's not afraid of the FCC.
Nobody, I say he should be arrested. It's not even about FCC.
Yes, that's
it's a security risk.
That he has all his,
for him to say in the media.
All the T's crossed and all the I's dotted.
When the chiefs are there, we will call to give accountability is not witch hunting.
Okay, we'll get to that. But just a minute, because we're wrapping up now. Just for a minute. Very soon is going to be Senator Shouts and Hula Balu and Razmata has around 100 days in office for Monday. What should Edo people be expecting in this regard beyond all of the media showing that we're saying?
No, don't call it media. I practically demand an apology for that, for the state governor.
No, until
you are watching it, you have your station is on ground in Edo. Even throughout the campaign, one of your staff was right there in Edo.
Right.
You know, and you see what the man is doing right now. We are doing opening up the infrastructure sector. We are repositioning the economy. Even people, there was a media outing or a fact-finding outing by a media outfit in Benin who went to Satana Market in Saplero to confirm if the effect of the banning or suspension of the association and the IEC and unions has reduced the prices, and it was obvious. A lot is going on in that regard, and the government is forming itself. Any moment from within the next 2 weeks, the commissioners will be announced, and we'll hit the ground running. Some award has been made, some contracts have been awarded, some ongoing project, because we're talking about government is continuum.
Right.
As far as we have to review some things, if it was not government continuum, the love of Edo that the Okpebholo led and doesn't want every of our dime to miss. He does not want abandoned project. In the process of continuing, he has to review what he meant on ground. For example, the Stella Obasanjo. We are not talking of Igborahi, the so-called University of Igborahi. We know all the projects that he hurriedly commissioned. Remember, he withdrew about 14.something billion from the account within 2 weeks before handing over. That he was trying to settle contractor. How do you commission a project that is not completed? What do you call the project? You call it Stella Obasanjo Hospital. You did not call it a block building inside the hospital. We'll not talk of the education hub in Iyaro. We are still going to go there because even on the job commission, I was pointing it out that how can this man be commissioning an education building, a block of building inside the whole complex? It doesn't work.
I've spoken with somebody who is in Edo State, neutral, not APC or PDP affiliated, who says that the former government had done an amazing work with the Ministry of Education on Iyaro, the road.
Project. I'm not talking of the project. Is nobody is saying the building is not. Have you completed it? Why are you commissioning it? What if by commissioning it you're supposed to put it to use? What if the government now say I'm not paying the contractor again? You will be paid
on account of the commission.
Of course. These are the things we are talking about. Nobody is talking about the ShopRite. You remove Edo Library. You didn't tell Edo State people. You did not give the land to ShopRite. Is it by equity you made arrangement with ShopRite to come there? What is the stake of Edo people in all these things? Because you get them land. Land is equity. Did they pay for the land? Where is their accountability?
Okay.
Nobody talks about destroying the central hospital, the specialist hospital. You want to put MOA, Museum of West Africa,
with artifacts in it.
Is it is not artifact, with whatever is bringing it to it. Artifact belong to the.
All right.
And you destroy. Look at it. A man that you said is competent, capacity, and credible, you destroy a specialist hospital, you want to build a museum to replace it. And you are not transferring money again, billions, to be building Stella Obasanjo Hospital. What a waste.
All right. I
and the same MOA is owned by private, your friend. Yanacho, Philip Yanacho. Happened to you divested $1 million from Azura Power Project. Edo State stake in Azura was $2 million. You remove $1 million there.
I know you have a lot to say about this, but 100 million offices in February. I go because of life.
Yeah, we have story to tell.
Yes.
Edo is rising.
Great. I will look forward to all of that. Incidentally, this is what we're leaving it with our discussion this morning. Everyone, thank you so very much for spending part of the morning with us, myself and Jumai Manson. We do appreciate that. Just to remind you that the views of our guests are our opinions. This is Global Television. We'll leave you now. Shortly, we'll bring you Talk Sports. Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rate.